Aloha and welcome to our session on growing a movement for student engagement and equity through farm to school here at the Schools of the Future conference. I wanted to say happy National Farm to School Month to everyone. We celebrate each October as National Farm to School Month as well as Farm to School Month in Hawaii. Our presenters today are myself, Lydie Bernal, Hawaii Farm to School Hui Coordinator with Hawaii Public Health Institute, Dexter Kishida with the City and County of Honolulu, and Summer Mauna Kea with Kökua Hawaii Foundation and the University of Hawaii at Manoa College of Education. In terms of farm to school, we recognize three core elements. So when we say farm to school, we're talking about school gardening and on-campus food production and learning gardens, education, so curricular integration relating to food, agriculture, and food systems, as well as nutrition. And finally, school food improvements through local procurement. So we're going to bring all those elements into talking about student equity and engagement today. This is a call to action that the National Farm to School Network has put out this month that by 2025, 100% of communities will hold power in a racially just food system. So you can recognize that your work to involve students in food systems is very important and relevant at this time. And I would encourage you to connect with the National Farm to School Network, sign up for their updates and announcements to find out more about this call to action and to get involved. We are here in Hawaii with a statewide network called the Hawaii Farm to School Hui. This Hui was founded in 2010, so we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. The network is comprised of 5 island level networks that encompass 6 islands, including Lanai, and very much formed through public-private partnerships with involvement of state agency representatives, as well as community-based organizations, schools, and food producers. Right here in the middle, you can see some of the programs that we operate. And 2 that I wanted to mention are the Hawaii Youth Food Council. This launched in the spring of 2020, and currently there are 10 selected high school youth that are part of this council to bring systems change through youth involvement in food systems. The second is the Hawaii Garden to Cafeteria Program. This program is provided in partnership through the Farm to School Hui and DOE School Food Services branch to allow schools to grow food on campus and serve it in their cafeteria. So you can find more information there about joining this program through the farmtoschoolhui.org website. And just personally, as a former garden educator, I really love this olalo no eau, ola loko, ike aloha. Love is imperative to one's mental and physical well-being. I truly believe in the power of school gardens and farm to school to provide a sense of purpose for all students, or at least, to connect people with their sense of purpose. And this relates strongly to equity and increasing student engagement in learning. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dexter Kishida. Welcome, Dex.
Thanks, Lydie. Some of you may recognize me as the artist formerly known as the Farm to School Coordinator in the DOE. I recently made the move to the City and County as the Food Security and Sustainability Program Manager. But one of our focuses is still farm to school and working with state institutions and procuring more local food items. And there's a quote by Dr. Albie Miles that if we get food right, we get everything right. And part of it is the food systems are just so complex. It's just a huge spaghetti plate of connections, of how food flows and what happens to our food to get to our plate, that if we can untangle all of that and if we can straighten things out and maybe shorten those strands, that we can get everything right. And to start off, to look at the DOE, that the pre-pandemic numbers of meals that were served were 100,000 lunches and 25,000 breakfasts per day. And during the pandemic, lunches peaked. So the top number of lunches served per day were 25,000, breakfasts about 5,000. And so if our free and reduced percentage is at about 51% for the whole state, then there's 25,000 students per day that where are they getting their meals from? That if they relied on this national school lunch program, they're they're missing and they're not being reached. And so that's a huge concern. That's a huge concern. And that over the past few years, school food has looked at things differently. That in the past, um, the the thought was equality was enough. That we looked at this slide that shows the difference of equality versus equity. And what we've learned is maybe even the next slide shows a better picture of it. That it's more than just equity. That it's justice that we need to strive towards. That the National School Lunch Program initially defined feeding every kid the same tomato. And that's how we understood how to implement the National School Lunch Program in Hawaii, that everyone needs to have the same tomato. Versus we've moved now to the understanding that it's maybe not the same tomato, but the same nutritional value as of a tomato should be served to all students. But a student on the Big Island can get a tomato from Honoka'a, and a student from Oahu can get a tomato from Whole Farms, and that be totally okay. And that we don't need to serve the same item across all students statewide, but that we can move to a just food system and in fact meet people where they're at and look at what needs and what wants they have to ensure that all students have access to nutritious food that they enjoy at a price point that they can afford. And the way that we did that is to look at the food system in schools. And for the purposes of this presentation, we'll look at just the food environment section. So if we pull that out, there's some questions that we ask ourselves in school food, and maybe you do too, in just everything in everyday life, that the food availability, food affordability, product properties. So what makes it? Is it grown safely? Is it of quality? That is there appeal and convenience to the food items that we're eating? The farms that grow and the ranchers that raise the food, as well as messaging and promotion. That is positive food education available and appropriate for all students on campus? And that are there multiple campaigns to encourage healthy eating and healthy living to reach diverse audience that we have? That the food messaging I'll hit on a little bit more, because marketing is huge. There's millions, if not billions of dollars being spent to get our children um, to eat a certain way. And in school food, we don't have that kind of funding for marketing. I mean, education. Really, education is that authentic representation of how we market foods to our kids. That when they get to grow a tomato, that is the best way that we can get them to change how they'll eat and whether they'll eat that tomato. And David Sobel says that if we want children to flourish, to become truly empowered, then let us allow them to love the earth before we ask them to save it. That even before we ask them to change their diets, then they need to be connected back to the aina. And that really is the key piece as we look at changing our food system. Is if our kids rally and want fresh local items, then the system will provide it. And that if we can connect them in schools through school gardens back to the aina, back to the food that can be grown here, then it'll start to get served in the kitchens. Um, a perfect example or perfect translation of that is how we buy things. That in the past, school food would just be cost based. That we'd look at just the price of the tomato, price of the food that we're buying. In the past few years, we've changed to look at value of the food that we serve. That what kind of value can the ranchers and the growers and the farmers of our food provide to educate our kids? Can they show us what growing techniques that they're implementing that can inform our students better in how they eat and what they eat? Can they share their regenerative practices in how they're farming to ensure that they're not just using the land, but connected to the land in growing the food that we're providing our kids? So the procurement process is really a key step in how we're changing what we serve. And in the next few slides, um, there's examples of ways that we start to use breadfruit, which hasn't been served for decades in our schools, but we found really important to bring back to our keiki, that we could serve an indigenous food in both a wrap form, which wasn't so popular. So then we made a beef stew, which became very popular, um, and also a way that we could replace a mainland import, the potato, with a locally grown indigenous crop, because we want all our students to be provided an opportunity to love fresh, nutritious food. And school gardens we found being the number one way to do that. But the connection in garden to cafeteria was important to show that what they grew in the garden ended up being on the plates that they were eating in school, and the plates that they shared with their fellow students as well. So to recap really quickly, that procurement needs to move beyond price, that it needs to be about values, not just value of the food. And that the marketing, I mean the education that we provide to our students is absolutely key. That we don't have the millions of dollars that the food industry has to market, but what we do have are authentic experiences to connect our keiki back to the aina, back to the land, back to the food that they grow. And that while there are times that we're going to have the pop or the media blitz of a kalo bowl, because there needs to be some excitement that is drawn up for actually, the systems change. That the true progress is when the ulu gets incorporated every month into the beef stew that we serve. And so that's how school food is changing to be more equitable, but in fact, the steps we're taking to create a more just school food system. Thank you very much. And next up is Summer. So Summer, take it away.
Thanks, Dexter. Aloha, everyone. Summer Mauna Kea here from Kökua Hawai'i Foundation's Island Schools program. And thanks for having us at Schools of the Future. So a little bit about our organization. Kökua Hawai'i Foundation is a nonprofit organization founded in 2003 by Kim and Jack Johnson that supports environmental education in the schools and communities of Hawaii. And our main mission is to provide students with exciting and interactive encounters that will enhance their appreciation for and understanding of their environment so that they will become lifelong stewards of the earth. So to do this, we have 5 main programs. We're going to focus today on Aina in Schools, but I also want to point out 2 grant programs that we have: the Kökua Hawai'i Foundation Field Trip Grants and Project Grants for teachers in Hawaii. We have a Plastic-Free Hawaii program and a 3R School Recycling program, and you can learn more about these programs on our website. Aina in Schools is our farm to school program. Aina meaning our land, all that nourishes and feeds us. And we've also turned it into an acronym to stand for Actively Integrating Nutrition and Agriculture in Schools. So our main goal is to connect children to their land, water, and food to grow a healthier future for Hawaii. And we do this with 3 main points: to address childhood health, fostering environments of stewardship, and supporting a healthy food system. There's 6 main program components. So we have nutrition education, garden-based learning, and waste reduction, and those are attached to our curriculum that I'll share about. And we also promote healthy food on campus, agricultural literacy to get students to learn about their food and where their food comes from, as well as family and community outreach. So engaging the whole family and community in the learning around farm to school. A little bit about our program. Our program was launched in 2006, and this is a comprehensive farm to school program that supports local schools and educators. So we have programming in 23 Oahu elementary schools. They implement the program school-wide across Oahu. And in addition to that, we've trained over 600 educators from 250 schools and organizations across Oahu, Hawaii Island, Maui, Kauai, and Molokai. And to date, over 3,000 docents with an average of 200 new Aina docents a year are trained at each of our 23 program schools. So the Aina Schools program, we have 2 lesson delivery models. One at docent model schools where volunteer docents lead Aina lessons, and then at teacher model schools where teachers lead the Aina lessons. And some partner schools have a blend of both of these models, with teachers leading lessons in some grade levels and docents leading lessons in others. Here's an overview of the different units involved in the Aina in Schools curriculum. So this curriculum is designed so that successive spiraling units enable students to build on previous knowledge over the course of their elementary school experience, while developing a solid foundation in Aina-based systems thinking. So nutrition and garden lessons also include the language of close to the source and healthy snacks that reinforce key concepts. So the lessons are written for the grade levels indicated here, but they can be adapted for other grade levels, such as pre-K all the way up to secondary education. Okay, so with equity and student engagement as a lens, I'd like to share our Aina offerings for this school year for all teachers across the Pai'aina. So our goal is really to connect students to the Aina and strengthen their relationship to the Aina during these times. And we do this through partnering with teachers and really empowering all teachers through the use of these free and available resources that I'd like to share with you. So we have our Aina curriculum, Aina student workbooks, online resources, the project grants, and all of these can be found at kokuahawaiifoundation.org. So with the curriculum as a foundation, we've seen amazing impact so far from teachers on Oahu, such as teachers at Kahuku Elementary and Blanche Pope Elementary that are integrating garden-based learning during these times of distance and blended learning. For example, teachers are sending produce and plants and planting materials home with their students, and we're working alongside administrators to get all grade levels involved, such as including farm to school materials in student packets. So in addition to the curriculum online, there's also these Aina student workbooks. So in the student workbooks, there's take-home letters for information of how family and community can get involved. There's recipes for snacks, and there's also student worksheets that students can complete alongside when the units are being delivered. On our website, you'll also be able to find how-to resource guides and videos that talk about the key concepts and skills in the Aina curriculum from kindergarten all the way to grade 6. And finally, we have the Kökua Hawaii Foundation project grants that are available. These funds can go towards garden maintenance, supplies, lesson supplies, food ingredients, technical assistance, garden bed prep assistance. And these funds are available to all teachers in Hawaii. If it's just one teacher, you can get up to $200. Or if you hui up with a bunch of teachers, you can get up to $1,000 per school year to implement garden-based learning, nutrition education, composting into the curriculum. So please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'd love to partner with you and learn from you of how you are engaging your students in farm to school through garden-based learning, nutrition education, composting, and all the many ways that we're trying to engage our students in Hawaii. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Summer. Mahalo, Dexter. And to close, I'm going to share a few more resources. As Summer mentioned, Kökua Hawaii Foundation has project grants available, and the due date is January 31st to apply. This is also for early care and education providers. Aina in School's video series, as she mentioned, is available on the Kökua Hawaii Foundation YouTube playlist. Also, really great series of ulu educational videos, so relating to breadfruit. This is produced by Hawaii Ulu Cooperative with the Farm to School Hui, and available on the Hawaii Ulu Cooperative YouTube channel. The Hawaii Farm to School Hui hosts a webpage that relates to events and resources regarding farm to school. I encourage you to check that out at farmtoschoolhui.org and click on resources. Also, there is a new website that aims to grow a community of school peace gardens in Hawaii. You can also access that through the Farm to School Hui's website. Several events I wanted to point out are a monthly school garden talk story series. So all are welcome to join these online sessions, one on November 19th, another December 10th. And also there is an annual We Grow Hawaii Youth Garden and Food Conference. Please save the date for March 6th in the spring. Do stay connected with our movement. The Hawaii Farm to School Hui has a bi-monthly e-newsletter, and you can sign up on our homepage, farmtoschoolhui.org, and connect with us as well on social media. With that, I'd like to say mahalo, and please malama pono. Aloha.